Uh, I have been sitting out meditating this morning. Actually, I went did a walking meditation. So I am out by this beautiful, wonderful brushy creek is what we call it that is near my and wanted to share some breath with you as we get our day started and to let you know that breath is like the most important aspect of life. And for some of us, we may be like, well, duh, but I don't know about you, but I so often take it for granted. And as we take go through this breath work together, and we're literally just going to be taking some simple breaths, just breathing in, breathing out, probably to a pace, whatever fits for you. You can match mine, which is going to be probably 4 to 5 in and 4 to 5 out. But I just want you to be aware of the breath going in and out. As the breath goes out, I want you to be thinking about this image with your eyes closed of how my breath out breathes into nature, breathes into the trees and the vegetation. It breathes into the cosmos in some sort of way. It it is a part of the whole of everything. And at the same time, when we take that deep breath in, there's a recognition of how that breath that we're taking in cannot be held, how that space that we fill within ourselves is not something to be held on to. And breath is essentially the essence of life in every aspect of it. Um, as I sit with my breath, I am so often blown away by the multitude of impossibilities for this to occur. Um, I was sitting here earlier and I was thinking, how is it that I breathe out this poisonous gas? That if I was to only breathe in this this poisonous gas that the trees suck in and give life, I couldn't survive. And yet somehow this body of mine is able to differentiate oxygen from the carbon dioxide. No, not that. I want to sound like a silly man. Whatever it is that we breathe out. And the truth is that the trees do the same. And so I want you to imagine for a minute this place of breathing. And we'll go through it a little bit more here in just a second as we dive in. So here you go, folks. I'm going to turn you around and you can see my view. Isn't this beautiful? I mean, like, literally, how can you not want to sit and breathe for just a minute? So let's listen for just a minute and take a deep breath in to the count of, let's go with the count of 4. Breathing out and feeding all of the vegetation. Breathing in all the nutrients that come into our body that feed our very essence, that allow us to have thoughts, ideas, emotions, to feel, to move, to exercise, to execute, all those things. Breathing in again, breathe out. Hear the birds. Release and sharing the breath. Now imagine on this next breath in that you can actually see the edges of the cosmos. And maybe you know this, but the cosmos are always contracting and shrinking. And as you breathe in, I want you to imagine that we are all unified in our breath and that we are breathing in as and our bodies are expanding as the cosmos are shrinking. And as we let it out, we're blowing this out into the cosmos, and the edges of the universe and the cosmos are expanding again. Sharing in the fullness of breath together. A couple more breaths together. Take a deep breath in. Breathing it out. Notice the entire system Notice the feelings that you have. Is it easy to take the breath in? How deep can you breathe it in? How far can you let it out? One more deep breath in and one more deep breath out. As you breathe this out, come back to your senses. I just want to help us all realize that in the midst of all the things we chase after, in the midst of all the things that seem difficult right now, even if you're not able to take a deep breath right this second, how grateful can you breathe? How grateful can you breathe it in? How grateful can you breathe it out? With the deepest sense of awareness that you are participating in something that is so already set in motion, and that the small little ideas that we chase after, like incredible riches, incredible things, the materials that are all around us, the things that we've made that we think that make us important, feel good, or give us that quick dopamine hit, all those things are nothing without the breath. They're nothing without that heartbeat. They're just nothing. And so the breath means everything. The very nature of God, to breathe in God, according to some of the Jewish traditions, is that the breath, the sound of Yahweh is the breath in and out. Yahweh. So with every breath, you are, whether you believe in God or not, you're participating in something that is so much bigger than anything you can control. That power, it is sustaining you. And I want us to remember this today as we move through. I've got to remember this. I have to remind myself multiple times a day to breathe and the power of the breath. And I'm not the first to come up with this, but I do think that we live in a world that it just talks and talks and talks, and they don't really take the time to really sit with and really appreciate the essence of breath work. And it's not even work. That's the irony of ironies. Is just what is given to us. It's what we do. And yet the work is that we have to sometimes stop to take an even deeper breath, to remind ourselves of how deep we can breathe and how deep out we can breathe. And so many of us are fascinated with things. I know I am, with things like Wim Hof, and how you can breathe this heavy breath in and breathe it out very quickly and create this space for you to ultimately be able to let it all out and capture that energy of the oxygenated blood that is going on. And we hold that breath and hold that breath, but no matter how long we try to hold on to it, unless we want to die, which we can't actually hold our breath to death from what I understand, we might pass out. But our body knows. And yet, how many things in our life are we holding on to? How many things in our life that are just basically putting us to death every day? Side of what life really looks like. How many things are you holding on today? Your kids, that job, that dream house that you have, or maybe it's just your thoughts about what you think you can do. That maybe you don't think you're worth anything. How long do you want to hold that breath of that thought until you pass out under the weight of it? You see, the breath work that we do is really all about beginning to focus in on the things that are out of our control and the things that are in our control. And it's leaning into the trust that this breath was given to us so that we can literally feed the world and be fed by it. And that this world plays its part in the fullness of all the cosmos. And while I don't understand all of it, right? We don't really get, there's more questions than answers. At the core of who we are and at the core of what we desire to be is this thing called the breath. And if we don't pay attention to that, then we make ourselves so shallow, and we attach ourselves to things that we can't take with us into the dark bookend that is death. And there's nothing that we can bring into this life that we know except for the breath. It's the one fear the most when our kids come into the life. It's the one thing we look forward to at the same time, and it's that first breath that they take. So today, see if you can rebirth yourself with breath. And remember that first breath, and as best you can. And also be aware of that last breath that you'll take as you breathe out. Let's bring ourselves into the present moment and realize that all we have is this breath. Peace to you all, and may you have an incredibly good morning breath work session. Peace to you all. Bye-bye.